Hello everyone. Today's VR is for Lauretta Allen, and she's having a challenge. I think it's her first challenge. She does the most lovely beadwork and embroidery, quilting, so pop over and have a look at Lauretta's channel if you haven't already done so. Now her challenge is calling for nothing to be made. She just wants you to share a few of your family's old photographs. So anything pre-1950 she would be interested to see. So I've had a look through the photos that I've got. Mine are very limited because all my family's photographs are owned by other family members, but I do have a couple or three and I've photocopied them, so I'll show you those. And I do have a book here of old photographs which might be interesting just to look at and see the costumes that and dresses that people used to wear then. Now the first photograph that I've got of importance and meaning to me is one of my great-grandfather. And this was taken just before he went abroad in the First World War. His name was Harry Carnell. And he's there in his military uniform. It's a very old photograph, so you can see it's completely worn out in places, but it's the only photograph I've got of him. And that was taken a few years before he had his leg off. He had the left leg amputated from, I think it was just below the knee, but that wasn't due to war wounds. But I only remember him with the wooden leg. And he used to have a dog. I think it was Bob. His name was Bob. Oh no, it was Mick. It was Mick. And Mick the dog, he used to lie on his wooden leg by the side of the fire. And that's how I remember him. So that's the one photograph. The next one is of my father. And this was taken on board ship when he was in the Second World War. I'm not sure if he was on board ship there or in docks, but he was at Tobruk and he was on destroyers, and that's him there. My father was a lovely looking man. He was the kindest man. Gentle. So I loved the old Navy uniform as well, where they had bell-bottom trousers and they used to have to press them in by hand. You used to have to fold them up and press them. Times have changed with uniforms. I think everything is stay pressed these days. So that photo means a lot to me. Again, another photograph that is falling apart, so I photocopied this one. Now I would say this is taken in the 40s, and that's my grandma, that's my mother, and that's my aunt. My grandma was a very kind soul, quiet, lovely woman. She had 9 children. She didn't want 9 children, but she had 9 children. Lost one when she was 9 months old, a little girl named Jean. and this little girl had, it was called a nevus. It was like a little pimple that started on her face, which was incurable, and it just grew. And my mother said she used to rock her to try and stop her crying. She was always on her lap rocking this little girl, and they didn't have the know-how, the medication then, and the little girl died when she was 9 months old. Now in those days, especially if you weren't very well off, my grandma said to me that little children, infants, newborns, they were always buried in a grave with another adult, and they did have a record of where the child was buried, but it was usually with an adult, in an adult grave. And they didn't use coffins for babies. They used to use a Hudson's dry salt box. So that was something I learned from my grandma. Sad story. I think her mother, my great grandmother, maternal one, she had twins, and one of the twins died. They used to call it overlaying. I think in those days you used to have the children in bed with them, and they woke one morning and the one child was dead. Now they'd put it down to cot death. I don't think it's got anything at all to do with overlaying a child. It was a cot death. So a little bit of social history there from my grandparents. Now amongst the photographs, my family photographs, I found this. Nobody seems to know who she was. Probably a friend of one of my aunties. And I thought it was a pretty sad photograph. The dress is too big. Nothing particularly elegant about it. I think a sign of the times then, when there was little money about, and if you weren't wealthy, you had to make do. So I don't know who that lady is, but I've always hung on to the photograph. This book that I've got, I'll just show you a few of the pages. Just interesting to see the fashions of the day. But there are so many of them, and I think Lauretta was just interested more in the family side of photographs. So those are my few family photographs that I've got pre-1950. So thank you for looking in, everyone, and pop over to Lauretta's channel if you will, and give us some support. Thanks very much. Bye for now. Bye ladies.